Welcome back, beautiful humans of the world, to Radio Melee. Back at it again another week. We've got a phenomenal guest with us today, but we've also got a phenomenal series of hosts here, myself and, of course, Toph, holding it down. Hope you're doing good, man. And VoiD, our wonderful guest of honor. How's it going, man? Glad to have you with us.
It's going good. I'm happy to be here. I knew I wasn't going to be home today, so I was like, maybe I won't be able to do it. And then Toph told me Yingling called in on a phone while he was driving.
That's
And I was
true.
like, I'm sure I could do better than that.
He called it on a phone with no webcam in his car, and then that's what it was. That's what it was. And then he lives in Arizona, and it got really hot, and everything just crashed. And he was like, "Oh, hang on a second, guys. It's really hot in my car, so my phone overheated. So I'll turn so now I'm gonna start my car and turn the AC on. Then it'll be cool enough. But you got to give me 10 minutes for my phone to cool down enough to use it." So honestly, the fact that we've got your camera and your mic, like, dude, that is crushing it levels for radio.
Yeah, I've never used this headset before. I've
Dude,
never
it
used this
looks
camera before. This is
looks
just
good
for you guys.
Well, thank
Dude,
you.
as a SoCal resident, as an Ultimate player, I have a question for you. What is going on with our friend Larry Lur?
Larry Lur.
Why does it feel like the world spotlight is on Larry Lur? How did that happen? What's the story there?
I feel like Larry has just he's slowly evolved into like a low-key meme. In the same way like DeBuzz gets memed all the time if you see any Smash tournament.
He does.
But he didn't really go through like the Smash 4 era of, people didn't like Rosalina. Like Larry's just continuously evolved as a
He's
meme.
always been
Yeah, and
right.
it's going even further and further, and now it's gonna there's no stopping it. I don't know. I didn't think it'd get to this point.
I saw an article in the news. It was some esports whatever website about Larry Lur's meme prominence.
Insane.
Yeah, I was like, damn, dude, they're writing articles about him. That's how you know it's real. Me and PP, it's not on the Golden Guardians channel yet, but yesterday we actually reviewed Smash memes.
Mm-hmm.
So for all you Golden Guardians content fans out there, there's going to be a video on the channel probably in a couple days about we're going to be rating your favorite and your least favorite Melee memes. So that'll be a good time. But anyway,
you hear about the incident of 08?
The incident of 08?
The incident of 08.
You mean Brawl?
Nope.
Oh, okay. No, I don't know.
Incident of 08. It's a recent summit skit that happened at Ultimate Summit. I don't want to say skit, it was like a side event.
Okay.
It was kind of Smash for Land of Plane.
I saw that.
Yes. So people started calling it the incident of 08 because, I don't know, just when DeBuzz crashed his plane, everybody just started memeing it. And it was like, yeah, you don't talk about the incident of 08. After 08, I got my pilot's license. I didn't want a tragedy like that to happen again.
Yeah. Is it Flight Simulator 2008? Why was it 08?
Yeah, I'm wondering about the year.
Just picked a year.
Just picked the year? Okay.
Yeah. Because then everybody's like, it's 2022 now. We don't want to talk about what happened in 08.
Yeah.
Have to pick some past year.
Mm-hmm.
Makes a lot of sense.
I hope they bring that to a Melee Summit. I think that was the best side event I've ever seen.
Yeah. And, for people in the chat, of course, some people watch this on YouTube. For those people, you should join us on a Tuesday at 3 p.m. Pacific here at, my YouTube channel, PP's YouTube channel. We both stream it simultaneously. And for people in chat right now, you can use !Radio Melee. It basically just gives you a Discord server link. You can just hop into the Golden Guardians Discord server and ask us any question you want. Of course, VoiD plays Ultimate, everything. But of course, VoiD plays like a lot of different games. And so
he also plays Melee.
And every time I see VoiD, he's better. He's gotten better every single time. That's how it's got to go. It's all about the climb. The climb. Right, so that wasn't I know that looked like a stupid dance, but I was trying to do it.
I love it. I love the enthusiasm on it. And, just for everyone knows that's calling in, I mean, VoiD, high-level competitor, strong streamer. I mean, he's out here. So if you got questions about content, you got questions about competing, of course, you got questions about Larry Lur, anything else in the community. Look, this guy's prepared, all right? So we're trying to bring people together on the show. We're trying to get you guys' hot questions answered. So if you guys got anything for that, please call in !Radio Melee.
That's right.
Toph, do you think it would be good for me to ask VoiD something now, or we just take it to the community voice? What are you feeling?
Go ahead. Yeah, ask him.
Let's see. We did bring up the Melee playing earlier, so I might just go ahead and dive into that. I was kind of curious, VoiD, because I saw you streaming Melee one day. I think it was a month or so ago, and I jumped into your chat, and I remember that you were saying, I've been playing. I always feel so bad when people say, "Well, when are you going to enter Melee tournaments?" Because I've been entering Melee tournaments for
It's
years,
true.
and I just don't do as well. And so I but you laughed about it. You had a good laugh about it, which I appreciate. And yeah, I was kind of wondering what your relationship to. I mean, I know you are primarily focused on ult, but I was kind of curious, just for the audience that's usually listening. What's your relationship to Melee? Because you like it, you play it some, and you think it's a fun game. Do you what do you want? What do you like about it, and do you want anything more out of it?
So it started back in like 2013, probably. I was playing like PM. What a bad frame to freeze. Anyway, I was playing PM because I wanted to practice Melee without tap jump because getting used to no tap jump or
Smart.
getting used to tap jump being on is really hard. So I started with PM, started entering Melee tournaments, but this was back when Melee hated Brawl and Hawaii Melee. They also didn't like League of Legends, and I was both, and I was like, oh, this kind of sucks.
Oh my.
So I started playing more Smash 4. Smash 4 came out, traveled, got good at Smash 4, and then there was a point where I was like, let's go back to playing some Melee. Like Melee's fun. Melee's really
Huh.
enjoyable. I've always had a good time playing, and it's just a lot of people are worried about like the muscle memory switching. That's never really been an issue for me. The games just look so different that it's hard for me to think of this game the
Yeah.
same. More so like decision making can be bad instead of like muscle memory.
Yeah.
So most of the time, like I spend majority of my like competitive career grinding for Smash 4 and Ultimate. So when I lose in a tournament, usually I just like having a good time. I don't want to like focus on grinding until I get home. I'm like, I tried my best, did what I could. Let's revisit later. So most of the time when I go to majors and I lose, I just go and play Melee for like the rest of the days.
Can
And
confirm.
hmm
Can confirm. As someone
so
who's played Melee with you.
so I started entering with the idea of I'll get out of pools eventually, and it's been like 5 years, and it's hard. It's hard.
Actually,
Like,
you could still get there.
Dude, you're gonna get
mhm,
there. I
I
know
think
you're gonna get there.
I almost got. I think it was a tourney in like 2018. I almost beat my round one, and then I got double four stocked in losers. I was like, "What
Ooh.
happened?" I was like, "How is this even possible? Why did I get double four stocked in losers?"
That's messed
Anyways,
up.
I just went to go practice. It's fun. I enjoy
Yeah.
entering a lot, and I enter like a majority of the time. But yeah, I just don't do that well.
That's totally
Yeah.
fair. Yeah, people, dude, that's kind of how it goes, like God. Yeah, like I was playing Melee with Amsa the other night, and he was like, Toph, like, he's like, when are you gonna start entering stuff again? I was like, no, I've been entering. I mean, I'm not a top 8 like you are.
hmm
The people don't pay that much attention to the 65th,
Yes,
49th placers, so
it's
it is what it
especially
is.
like it's the same vein when somebody comes up to you and they're like, "Hey man, are you still in?" It's like I've been out for the last
Uh,
few hours, bro.
Oh man.
yeah, yeah. Dude, but I do want to back up what you said about the muscle memory thing, because I used to enter. I'd go to we had Wednesday night fights over in NorCal, and I would do I'd enter Melee and all, and switching back and forth. Like, if anything, I felt like it was like almost like a skill. Like if
hmm
I hadn't done it in a while, it felt a little weird. But when I was doing it every week, like it was really natural and it felt fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Probably also, you think it helps when you play different characters?
A
A
little.
little.
I don't know. I feel like if I played Melee Sheik, I just can't think of them the same.
They're
Hmm.
so different, right?
Yeah, if I'm not bouncing fishing,
Right.
I'm not playing my game.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Forder's like a kill move. It's completely different.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Well, we're gonna take a look at the community voice from last week, because every single week we like to, throw a little bit of a question to the people out there, the people in the YouTube audience, people in the comment sections. And I believe what was last week's question? It was
Kadoran was on.
Adoran.
We had his question was, oh man. His question
Oh
was,
yeah,
oh yeah, which top player would you like to see it play a different character?
Yeah, like if only we could see more of X's Y. Like, oh, I would love to see more of Mango's Sheik or Armada's Ness, you know? All right,
Yeah,
so
they've been saying that.
Dude, VoiD, I bet there's a lot of this in alt, huh? Maybe not
Well,
though.
a
Maybe
lot.
people
I
are
think a lot of in alt.
really.
Anytime anybody plays anybody for like more than one tournament or less, everybody wants them to play them.
Oh, the Pichu thing. The Pichu thing.
It's Pichu. I think because a lot of players will try certain characters because there's so many characters to try,
Yeah.
and some people just become super fans like
Yeah.
immediately, you know.
Mhm.
And it's not that like they don't think they're doing well with the character, but it's like, but if they also, that's the thing in melee. I feel like you kind of have to hard commit to an extent.
Yeah.
It's hard to have an also
Ah.
in melee, but in alt, there's so many possibilities that I think a lot of people always think of that.
Mhm.
Oh, it's very yeah, so that's interesting. So it's very exciting then to just go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, I think there's a lot of I think when you switch in melee, and one person mentions Plup here, they said they want Plup to go back to Samus. It's interesting. Plup switched to Samus. It switched off to Samus. It's been several years now.
Been years, yeah.
But when he first switched, everyone was like, "Oh, you're not gonna do as well with Samus as you did, or you're not gonna do as well with Sheik as you did with Samus." And you're never gonna. And then I think within a year he was doing as well, and then shortly after that he was doing better or something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
people were like, "Well, I still wish you played Samus." So
Yeah.
it's very different in melee. There's a lot of wistfulness, a lot of I wish you hadn't done that, but I get it, bro. In melee. To finish
Yeah.
out the Plup one, they wanted Plup to go back to Samus, and then if that's off the table, Axe playing Samus would be phenomenal and bring a lot of hype and representation back to the character. I think this person just really wants Samus, but I'm here for that.
Oh yeah, they're 100% a Samus fan. Some people love Samus, and let's be honest, Plub Samus was very sick.
Yes,
First ends are kind of similar because Leffen did used to play.
that's true.
A lot of Yoshi. Well, the first time I ever met Leffen, I don't know if I ever told you this, PP. It was really funny. Leffen was a fledgling. It was Apex 2012, and we were in a hotel room, and we played some Fox Dittos because he was trying to pick. I don't know. I don't know if he was trying to pick up. I actually think it was a Falco main back then.
Yeah,
but I beat him. I beat him in some friendlies. I think it was like 3 friendlies with Fox in Fox Dittos, and then he goes, "Wait, I want to play Toph with my Yoshi," and then he plays Yoshi. Then he beats me. And he beats me as hard 3 games in a row with Yoshi. And then he's like satisfied. He's like, all right, cool. I got my revenge with my Yoshi. So that's why I always thought. Leffen. Yeah, and so I always thought because of that experience, I always thought of him for a while. I was like, oh, isn't he a Yoshi main? Like that was his character. That's his character that he used to get revenge for his fox. For his fox. So I thought he was a Yoshi main. But apparently not. Apparently he just had a cracked out Yoshi.
He was a Yoshi main for a bit, and it was strong. He was really innovating the character. Yeah,
dark blue Yoshi.
Mm-hmm.
So I will betray. Will Robinson says maybe we'll have probably a character that someone actually didn't play. I will betray both my great admiration for solo mains and my great loathing for trading up. Like switching to Sheik for Plup or whatever. To admit how intriguing I find the prospect of Wizzy, aka Mewtwo King, bringing his particular brand of precision to top level Sheik play. Pretty cool to think about. Hope it never ever happens. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure he'd be good at it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean he's just strong. I think Wizzy's Fox is something he's played a decent amount, and people say that's pretty good. And obviously the tech chasing is going to be crazy, but yeah, I mean, not missing the Sheik tech chase definitely changes the game. Hit a lot of tight punishes, hit some maybe crazy edge guard needle turnarounds. I mean, I could see it.
I definitely think Wizzy playing another character to like the same degree as his Falcon is a very scary thought.
Yeah. We are truly blessed that he likes Falcon. Last one we've got here. I always thought Magi's playstyle was better suited to Fox. I'd love to see how ridiculous her pressure and scrapping would become with such a fast character. I think that's fair. The Magi up air would be a lot harder to make distinctive, though. I will say that Foxes do like doing up air.
Magi, the thing about Magi's pressure that I think works really well. I mean, that's given that they're bringing up the pressure thing. I do think that Magi really likes the ability to get the pop up with the Falco Shine and then react to it, like hit confirm it. And I think with Fox, like I've always felt like with Fox, it's actually not as good to do the cracked out shield pressure stuff as much, because if you happen to hit a shine, they usually just bounce far enough away that you can't really get anything.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Magi is absurdly technical, so I'm sure she would make it work. Here's the thing. Yeah, I think that ultimately, like, that is generally just going to be a safe answer, though. Like, someone who's really good with Falco usually is just going to be really good with Fox, or vice versa. It just kind of works out that way.
I mean, it used to be just everyone dual mained.
I remember your Fox. Well. That Fox drunkenly won a Foundry.
Yeah, well, that
very
was,
easily, I might add.
We did a bit of the loopy fist style. We did what we had to do, but we got there.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
VoiD, to clarify, I was quite drunk, and so I did not play regular Fox. I played stand still until they give me an opening Fox, and I did what I had to do.
It was
not
so
pretty.
trolly, and you beat SFAT.
I did.
You beat sober SFAT.
Yeah,
dude. For people, like, I think people forgot, like, how good, like, the gods and how good PP was. Like, it was like this was 2015. This was like not even that long ago. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
This was like 2015.
Yeah.
It's like, I just remember watching that. I was like, dude, this guy's so fucking good. Like, holy cannoli, dude. Like, who just beats? Sorry, I'm just kind of geeking out.
Well, no, it's
who just beats? You know what I mean? Like, that shouldn't
yeah.
happen. That shouldn't happen. Like, you shouldn't just be able to, like, play some character you don't main, and then just be drunk and beat sober SFAT. It was actually unreal.
It is tough. I definitely thought I was losing that one, but I
thought you were too.
We pulled it out somehow. And Shroom was very mad because he said we were going to get drunk and throw together, and I tried, but I didn't get there.
Oh.
You were as drunk as he was. You just...
Yeah.
I mean...
it is what it is, I guess.
Suffering from success. Sometimes you just try to throw and you don't.
Yeah, VoiD. VoiD, have you ever, I guess, just on that note really quickly, have you ever played inebriated in any form? Do you find that interesting?
Yeah. It's a little interesting. Sometimes if I'm at a tournament and I'm like incredibly nervous, you know, like just one drink can
quick
actually
shot.
Yeah, it actually has helped me out
Cool.
good amount of times. But also, I'm sure you guys know it's very easy to get into a situation where you're with the homies playing Smash. Well, like outside of tournament.
Okay.
You're with the homies playing Smash and you guys are drinking, right? Very common situation. And I feel like just SoCal Smash 4 and some of SoCal Ultimate, we're tryhards. We have massive SoCal pride, and you know when it gets going, you know you're not drunk. You're actually probably fighting for your life even harder. So when it comes to doing it in bracket, if I were to do it, because I've done it at like a local here and there, and just have fun. I just saw the boys. It's been a long time post COVID. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, let's do it. And even while I'm playing, I'm like, I can tell I do this way too often. Like, I feel like I'm playing better. I know I'm not, but I feel like I'm playing better.
That's the classic.
Yeah.
Hey, well, we do love a good time at tourneys, and yeah, man. I hope we can have a good time with our upcoming question we got here. Look at the segue. Let's bring in our first caller.
Yes.
Venus, what's going on? Where are you calling in from, and what's your question for us today?
Sorry, just waiting for the loud motorcycle outside to stop. Hi, I'm Venus. I'm from Georgia originally, but I'm in New York, and yeah. My question is, if you, let's say hypothetically that you wanted to go pro in Melee, you had VoiD, you had someone on your, like, I remember when you were campaigning for Summit, you had this person who was really eager to play you, and you wanted to ask, you just wanted them so badly to tell you why they wanted to play you.
Yeah.
And I just thought that you seem to approach improvement in such a holistic way. I'm so curious. Let's say hypothetically you wanted to go pro in Melee. How would you go about doing that?
This is a tough one. Because of course I've thought about it a lot. Going pro Melee is hard.
It is a hard game.
It's hard, like physically. It's hard mentally. But at least like I know I have a decent amount of players who are a lot better than me that I'm like good friends with. So I've done this before. I've actually sat into a few of Bobby, Zach, and Kevin's meetings for Melee.
Oh,
Oh.
wow.
Just when they're talking about random just Fox and Marth stuff, and I'm like, wow, that seems cool. I'm gonna go work on that. And usually, I don't know. When it comes to improving, I feel like it's always just like I'm gonna go work on that, and I want to see. For me, improving is always about seeing what an option is. It's not about doing good things. It's always about like constantly being curious.
Can you explain what you mean seeing an option is?
Like
Like exploration? Is that what you mean?
exploration, like for example, in my melee Marth, I don't forward smash a lot of Marths at my skill level, and even a lot of Marth at like the higher levels, they just don't forward smash a lot. And I was like, oh, that's weird. I mean they forward smash a lot. I don't forward smash a lot because I'm like, I just want to play neutral normally. And then I think Tafo, one time I was playing Tafo at the COG facility, and he's like, dude, like you just never forward smash. And I was like, hey, yep. But then I do it like once every few games. I was like, oh, cool, that worked. Why did that work? And I think at the last summit, I actually was playing Toph, and we ended up talking about how important knockdowns are becoming in modern melee. And I was like, yo, like that's a big part of why forward smashing with Marth, even as like a low percent neutral tool, can be really good because you can cause the knockdown and see what you can do from there. And that's something that I never like even took the time to try to explore. And I feel like because I didn't do that, I just never started understanding where I could push that. And yeah, when it comes to melee, it'd definitely be a lot of like, hey, let's ask this player what they think about this, and then I'm gonna go and try to figure out the why. And it's gonna be a series of building blocks of doing like, oh, they think this, and I think they thought that because of this, and so on and so forth. And yeah, eventually, I think you get a general idea of why good options are good and why bad options are bad, but why bad options work and why good options don't work.
Right. Or vice versa. But the funny thing is, I think that there's a style, and that kind of makes sense because I think that like you're I don't know, I would say you're generally like pretty technical, especially with your like ult play style. It's funny, I kind of feel like the way Zane got good is somewhat similar. Somewhat. Like I feel like Zane is a player who is interesting because he would take an option that he like learned about or like practiced or something, and he would just like kind of spam it almost in a way. Like he would, like for example, power shield up tilt with Marth, like the physical power shield where you power shield like a move and then you up tilt, or something like that, right? And I remember, and he would just like try to do it as much as possible in as many situations as possible to like really understand like and it's kind of funny because when you're doing it in friendlies, it kind of almost feels like, aren't you doing it? You're like kind of overdoing it. It's almost like the converse of what you're saying, or maybe the inverse, but it's like he would overdo a certain option and then use that to get a feel of when it's good and when it's bad. And then dial it back to a level where now it's just kind of incorporated into his gameplay at a level that is just applicable, and he can just use it when he feels like he needs it. I feel like that's kind of pretty similar. And I think that a lot of technical players kind of do that. And I feel like I've kind of done the same thing over the years where I'll like kind of learn a new thing and then I try to like incorporate it and I try to like use it a lot, practice a lot until it just becomes something where I'm not overusing it.
I think the big thing with melee, at least though, like I go to like every melee summit. Slippy's amazing, and I do a decent amount.
Yeah, you hold it down in the Mafia too.
Yeah,
that's true. Very true.
The amount of actual attempts for me to learn these things is like it's pretty up there. It's pretty up there. Like there's a lot of opportunities to get better, and I think the biggest thing is probably just mental. It's really easy to get swarmed or swamped or lost in the sauce of wow, there's so much to learn. But
yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think that Melee is a unique game in that it's so execution heavy that sometimes like, because I'm a quarantine kid is how I would put it. I started taking Melee seriously when quarantine happened, and I've been wanting to get good since. And I think that the way that I've found helps me the most is breaking things down into situations and then trying to understand those situations and like those specific situations. But for the longest time, the thing that I was struggling with was just trying to like move my character. And it's so Melee is a game where it's like I main Pikachu, and like Pikachu requires so many precise movements just to like recover. And
Tough.
I don't know. Like I'm curious, just like how do you balance that?
I think the one thing that I don't know, maybe this is one thing that gives me an edge when it comes to improving is I'm brutally honest with myself. And I don't mean like, hey, you're bad, right?
Right,
It's
because
more
some people
so,
confuse that with negativity
yeah,
as
yeah.
being
But
brutally
I'm
honest,
more
and you're
so
just
like,
very
hey,
honest.
yeah, there's a lot to improve on. You're doing good. This thing is really hard, right? And the one thing that I'm always like, for me, this is kind of like a driving factor, just in like life is like, am I having fun with this?
Very
And if I
important.
can honestly like tell myself, yeah, this is really enjoyable. It's just really difficult. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with doing difficult things. Not everything's gonna be as easy as you want it to be. But
Right.
that's what makes
Right.
like the outcome feel a lot better. And if you can have fun on the way there, that's what keeps me going.
That's inspiring. I love that.
Yeah.
I I am just gonna keep going until they stop me. Like, cause something else that I found helps me is just like understanding the frame data and
Mm,
understanding like you know what I can do in certain situations based on like the physical limitations of the game. Is that a thing
mhm.
in Ultimate? Is that a thing that you would do if you wanted to improve in Melee? Like, could you
Uh,
get as nitty gritty in
Yeah,
there?
I'm kind of curious about that too, actually, because
I'm a frame data like nerd. I love looking at nitty-gritties. I love looking at like, do I have or can I have one more frame of advantage in this situation?
Mhm.
And honestly, I think it is good to improve after a point. I think there is a point where you can get too lost in like
Yeah.
Mhm.
exactly what the game means because Smash has so much creativity that it's easy for one situation to be pixels off from another situation and it's
Right.
completely different. So,
Right.
personally, like if I'm learning like new games, I don't focus too hard about frame data unless it's like I don't know Dragon Ball Z round start 6 frame versus 7 frame. You're just gonna lose every time. But you don't
Right.
have to go
Yeah,
like
yeah,
nitty
yeah.
gritty into that.
I always felt like in Smash, and probably even more. Well, Smash is so analog, that like
Hmm.
because everything is kind of variable. There's no in Melee, especially. There's no buffer, and
Hmm.
so like in fighting games, obviously, I mean, you played a lot of Strive, so it'll be like okay, literally, if I mash here, like if they're pressuring me and I mash here,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a frame trap, and I'm gonna get blown up, and Soul's gonna far slash me. I'm gonna take
Yep.
70%,
Or if I'm
but.
a little late, Soul can
Oh,
5K and
exactly.
uh,
And that's I feel like really important to know. But I think with
mhm.
the way people do it in Smash, sometimes they kind of
Yeah, yeah.
they do overdo it, right? Where it's like being plus this or plus that in Melee a lot of the times doesn't even really
Hmm.
mean anything because of how variable even the inputs are.
Yes.
Um, so
I think the
anyway, it
biggest
is it is
thing
interesting.
for me in
Hmm.
Smash is when I hit somebody, when can they do something?
Right.
Like
When I
Fox's
hit
Time is
somebody,
frame one.
yes,
Uh, Little Mac's Nair and air dodge is frame two. Luigi down B is frame one. So on and so forth. I think that's like the
the
biggest
freaking
thing for
downbeat.
me. Because I just I learn how to hit people and then deal with the repercussions later. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think we've covered this pretty well. I mean, you've given a lot of good answers for this, and
Yeah.
I really do want to thank Venus for calling in. Do you have any
Mhm.
shout outs for us today on your way out?
Sure. Shout out everyone here. Y'all are great, and I appreciate the support you give the Melee community and
Yeah.
the content. I want to shout out New York Melee. Raya beats a legend. Great TO, and every TO out there. Shouting them out.
Absolutely.
Um, and shout out just Melee in general. I love this community.
Thank you,
Oh
Venus.
yeah. Thank you, Venus. Thank you for calling in. Have
Thank
a
Mhm.
great
you.
rest of your day.
Have a good
You
day. Have
too.
a good day.
That's a good question. I am curious. I'm always curious. Actually, I want to ask you a quick follow up on the frame data thing,
Yeah.
Void, because I know you're kind of, you kind of have that lens on, for example, I mean, frame data is a term that kind of gets overused, but yeah, that kind of technical. Do you feel like because the impression I get from you is you're on the extreme end of that in the alt scene, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of people that are a lot more Like I get the vibe that a lot more of those sorts of people, the people that are attracted to breaking down games and the nitty gritty stuff, will tend to gravitate towards a game like Melee versus a game like Ult. I don't know if that's just an impression I have.
I think so. There's not a lot of like super nitty gritty stuff in Ultimate, and if there are, people don't really do them all the time.
But you do.
I do. Yeah. Have
Yeah,
you
let
seen
him know,
the stuff
VoiD.
I've been doing?
I saw your Joker. I saw your gun loops. What do you have a name for those?
Well, they're just gun loops.
Okay, just gun
I don't like
loops.
because Gimmer made a
Dude,
video on them 2+ years ago.
Oh,
They're old.
what?
Yeah.
What?
No, nobody does them. Nobody does them.
Wait, is this a weird? Is Gimmer like actually like a? Is he like an actual lab monster at all?
Gimmer's a lab monster. Yeah. I consider like the
Dude, the games,
massive
dude.
lab monsters, or like the people that like are the most knowledgeable and lab monsters, like me, Gimmer, Esam, Charles.
Wow.
And like if usually in like my scope, if one of us four say something about the game, I'll like take it at face value, and I'm like,
Right.
they know what they're talking about. Even if this sounds super duper ridiculous, like there has to be some amount of truth to it. Like this could be meta defining, and nobody knows because only we know and stuff like that.
Yeah, well
Okay,
said.
dude, good for Gimmer. I never really had that. I don't know. I mean, because he played Melee for a couple years, but I never.
He
felt
did a
like
little bit. He did a little bit for some
Dude,
stuff.
he played Game and Watch, right?
Yeah, he mostly did Game and Watch stuff in Melee, which
Still
did not help his profile. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Still does.
Anyway, next caller.
Next
Let's bring in the
caller.
Next caller. I just thought it was interesting to talk about. Welcome to the show, Huff with 3 Fs. Huff with
What's
3
up?
Fs?
I think it is. And where are you calling in from? What's your question for us
I
today?
can count. I'm good at counting.
I'm calling in from the beautiful city of Seattle, Washington.
Very nice.
Ah,
Yeah, so my question is, well, I moved here about 6 months ago from Boston. I've been pretty involved with like data collection and stats for both scenes, and I recently worked on the Washington PR that came out kind of beginning of the year. And so with that in mind, my question is, how do you do PRs for like a region of the size of Washington or New England? Like, what's the balance of including a certain number of players? Like, what's the purpose of a ranking that big? And do you think anybody gets left out in those conversations?
you
Big
think anybody
question.
gets left out? What do you mean by that?
So, like, I guess an example, right, is in the most recent rankings, some people got mad and said it was a Western Washington ranking. All the Eastern Washington people.
Oh, those Bellingham. Listen, as someone who used to live in Seattle, here's what you do. You say, you guys aren't as good as us. Come to our locals because we got the best players, and that's just how it is. Okay, I've been in Seattle. I know how it is. And you know what? There's sometimes there's Chip, and Chip's pretty good, and he comes and he actually shows up and proves himself. But let me tell you, Eastern Washington, sometimes you got to hold that. Okay? Some things never change. I know how it is. I feel uniquely qualified to answer this question. This is a tale as old as time. I'm so sorry. But seriously, there is sometimes there is kind of like a vibe. Like I remember I was talking to, who was it from SoCal? Kadoran. I was talking to Kadoran about this, and Kadoran was saying that in SoCal, we're talking about Asashi, and Asashi's the lowest ranked member. Asashi.
The GOAT.
Great player. The GOAT.
Yeah, I've been playing Melee with him for years.
Have you really?
Yeah, since before like Slippy, like on like faster Melee and stuff.
I knew Asashi was good when even Fiction was saying, dude, Asashi's our lowest ranked member on the PR, and Asashi's cracked. So you know SoCal's good. And Asashi's good when Fiction speaks highly of him, right?
That's
Fiction's
true.
like a very discerning eye. So Kadoran was saying that Asashi was the lowest person on their PR, but he was number 17. And I was like, oh, interesting. Like, why did you do top 17? And Kadoran was basically saying like, well, we on the panel felt like there was just a big gap in terms of the results from Asashi to like whoever would have been 18. Like there was a big, like a moat, it's like, okay, like this is a solid place to cut it off. And if we expanded it any more than this, there would be a bunch of people in contention. So I think that pretty frequently it's just something de facto like that. I think it's just like, well, if we go any further, we have to rank a bunch of people. And as anyone who's ever tried to do this before knows, the further down you try to go, the more blurry the results get. It's just like everyone has wins on everyone. Everyone has losses on everyone. Everyone's got really good wins and really bad losses. and it just gets really murky. And
Yeah.
the other thing you have to know is when you're making a power rankings of any size or scale, even if it's the top 5 players in Podunk, North Dakota. Sorry, North Dakota. I won't use you as the example for this sort of thing once you have any Smash GG users whatsoever at all. Fun fact: North Dakota, the only state that has no Smash GG presence whatsoever. Yeah, if you ever make a power rankings, people will be mad. They'll be big mad. That's just how it goes. Whether it's MIOM rankings or the Podunk top 5. And so if people are mad at your power rankings, it's like a you that has to be to you as a like a cat meowing or like a dog barking or the trees, the whistle of the wind blowing through the trees. It's just a natural thing. Power ranking comes out, people get mad. That's just life. That's nature. Nature's healing.
The one thing I think about for rankings, because for Ultimate, we've really only had like PGR, right? And a lot of people like the PGR a lot. It's been around for a while. I feel like I've gotten shafted from some PGRs because whatever algorithm it used for that season, and then they use a different one for the next season, and they use a different one for the next season. And one thing me as a player, and a lot of people don't really have this, I guess, mentality or outlook works, is that a PR is representative of whatever algorithm makes that PR. So a PR isn't necessarily one-to-one who's the strongest. It's who's the strongest with this algorithm. And people are going to get mad at that. But at the end of the day, like I could weigh whoever lost the least amount of tournament sets or whoever blah, 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 right? It's hard to make a PR that's one-to-one exactly what you want it to be. So to me, I say you do your best. You try to make it as good as you can. People are still going to be mad. People are still going to be happy. But at the end of the day, there's many ways to calculate strength in a ranking. And I don't think you should like feel super bad if people don't agree with your outlook of strength.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't have too much else to say other than the fact that I did the North Carolina Melee rankings for several years, and man, there were so many people that you basically said, well, if you value this more, then they're higher, and if you value this more, the other person's higher, and then like what Toph was saying, once we got down to about 10, some people were like, well, let's do more, and I like. Doing more is impossible. You just go crazy, like because
crazy.
Everyone beats everyone, and everyone loses to everyone, and none of them have like great wins. And why would you? It's just chaos. And that was my experience as well. So I'm really just echoing what you guys said, but yeah, that was my own experience with doing rankings. So I don't know if there was more huff that we didn't address that we could, but I think good answers from everyone here.
Did you, PP? Were you on the North Carolina PR?
I wanted
PR panel.
I was on the panel. Yes.
That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yes. So
I know you were. Were you not ranked in your state? That's real tough. You'll get there one day, dude.
Yeah,
you keep practicing.
I was very fortunate for that. And
if you need any tips though, like gameplay tips, PP, seriously,
you got a YouTube, right? I need to go check some of that stuff out.
Grab your YouTube. Yeah, we'll get you there.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Falco?
Yeah. No, you played Falco. I know you got me. But no, I was on the panel, for several years.
Okay.
And, in the Brawl days when we didn't have a ranking, I was like, hey, maybe we could run one. And does anyone want to do it? And they were like, you could do it. And I'm like,
oh, you started up.
I started it back.
You got the party started. You got the party started.
Yeah, I was worried because I didn't know what was going to happen. But so I started, and I trial and errored, and other people that had some experience helped me, and I eventually got a decent system going. And so that's why I have a ton of respect for the Melee Stats crew that does the rankings, because even with just doing local stuff, that joke is hard. So I feel for anyone trying to do that. That is a very difficult endeavor.
Yeah, especially when people play under like 6 different tags and you don't know who's who.
True.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah, no one makes it easy. Being a panelist is just hard. You gotta block out the haters. You gotta release your rankings into the world and then mute those notifications. Mute the thread. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just to add one more step onto it though, before we go, I just wanted to bring up another tricky situation. So last season specifically, like a lot of maybe the best players in the state weren't necessarily going to events, so you kind of get a PR with no Comm Master, no Blade Wise, no Daki. And at that point, I guess
They're
like
all number
the thing
0.
is,
That's what we invented. Number 0. Number 0, a timeless tradition in this match. But anyway, go on.
yeah, you see, we talked about that. We're right. We were right. Like, why don't we just make Daki number 0? And that was like, well, then you have Master going on a run at Smash World Tour where he beats everyone with Falcon, and you're kind of like, well, is it really fair to give someone 0? Like, when both of them haven't really done things, right?
I think what you do, and this is something I see some PRs do, is they'll just say, would be PR'd but didn't meet activity requirements, and you just put them in that list under the thing. And if you know who's probably the strongest, you could make that one person number 0 if you feel that strongly about it. But otherwise, just put didn't meet requirements, and then you put a bunch of people there, and so that answers people's questions of, well, where are they? There they are. You found them. They're right there next to everyone else in their own category, doing their own thing.
I like that. You don't have to like put a number on it. Just be like these are our strong players, but they're not on the PR. I'm not going to go out of my way to try to rank them because I don't want to snub anybody that did enter, and I don't want to snub the other because there's multiple number 0s in this case. Yeah, I think it's fine to just not have them. For example, current SoCal Ultimate PR. There's no me, Larry, Elegant, and Charlie, and probably a few others.
Oh my.
Yeah, and it's just like, whoa. And we just didn't go to enough stuff. That's all there is to it.
Yeah, and I think it's good to reward the grinders, and it's not a good PR if it doesn't make someone a little mad.
That's true.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
It's also not a PR if it doesn't make someone mad. Like it has to by default. But yeah, I mean, good question. I mean, I think PR talk is good, especially
You'll get there. You'll be fine.
Thank you again.
Seattle and those Eastern Washington guys, they'll live.
Yeah, so if you got a Metafy for PP or something.
I'll work it. I'll work on it.
Yeah, we'll have to.
I'll work on it.
Show that link eventually. But yeah, good discussion. I think especially as offline tournaments start coming back again, thinking about how to do PRs and everything like that is very timely, and it's a good thing for the community. So appreciate the question. And you got any shout outs for us on your way out today, Huff?
Yeah, thanks so much. I appreciate the perspectives and VoiD's ultimate perspective. And shout outs to Washington Melee, shout outs to New England Melee. Still love those guys. And yeah, thank you guys so much.
You're very welcome. Have a good day.
Yeah.
All right, have a good one, guys.
Yeah. Love that.
Yeah.
Let's our way into our next caller. Yeah.
Wait, that's their name? Yeah.
No, their name is Test Tube Girl. What's up?
Test Tube Girl. Welcome, Test Tube Girl. Saw you in chat earlier.
Hello.
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 Where are you calling in from? What's your question?
I'm calling from Japan, and my question is, how do you feel about American players traveling? We know that most, America is one of, most likely the strongest region in Smash, but in Ultimate, for example, the Japanese scene is very strong. So I was just wondering, how do you feel about Americans traveling? And do you feel like they travel enough in the scene? Mango expressed that he didn't really want to travel outside the US for Smash Tour, for example. So that's my question.
Interesting.
The way I look at it is, I'm really curious in VoiD's perspective, obviously, because it's just so different from Melee and all. But, the funny thing is, back in the day, PP, I'm sure you remember when, Justin Wong would go to, for a Capcom.
He was going everywhere, man.
Go everywhere, right? And, it kind of goes both ways, because on one hand, it's cool for that region if like a top player from, the strong area goes. But on the other hand, if top players from America don't go, that's also kind of cool for them, because then they get the qualifying spots. Like, there was always this drama about, there always be some fighting game players going to some, like lesser region or whatever you want to call it, like some area where there aren't as many top players. And then people get mad at them. They're like, oh, they're taking all the qualifying spots. They're taking all the points.
That happened in Ultimate recently with Ultimate Summit 3. There was a qualifying spot at Phantom, an Australian tournament. And I think the only player that traveled there was Dark Wizzy. And Dark Wizzy got the spot, and people were just complaining. And I was like, it was up for grabs. It was just in Australia,
Long flight.
Yeah, stuff like that does happen a lot, especially in regards to like a circuit,
Yeah. I mean, we've talked some. I think we've gotten a couple questions before about how can we grow other scenes, and I think one of the answers is, well, have American players go to them, and how do we incentivize that, right? And I think the circuit is a good way. And so it is how do we make this work for everyone? And I think circuit stuff is like World Tour is going to help with that. But I think travel is just harder for people right now, and that's something to just kind of bring up. But that aside, yeah, it's good. I mean, I think it's good for the Americans in that it also lets them understand the perspective of people traveling to America. But I also think if you do take any time to experience the culture there, which some Americans do, for example, when I went to Europe, I really enjoyed walking around Oslo and Norway and seeing the countryside in Sweden. Thought that was absolutely wonderful. So yeah, I mean, I think that it can just kind of be good for Americans to experience that regardless. But yeah, maybe not everyone wants to do it. I mean, Mango's played for a long time, as he's the person that you referenced there. So I think, and there could be a lot of reasons for that. I think the streaming just being more lucrative. Traveling is extra time you're not streaming, and again, we're in the content creation space. If you don't have YouTube videos or whatever lined up, if you're not IRL streaming to try and recoup those streaming costs, especially if you have as many subs as Mango does, then that can be a challenge. So a lot of factors to consider there.
Yeah.
Which I guess is something VoiD has to consider too. I mean, VoiD, successful streamer man himself. I don't know if you want to speak to that or anything else.
Even just like going to some of the smaller Smash stuff now. I talk about it on stream a lot. Like if you go on like a 3-day weekend and you get fourth, it's not really like it's not always like worth it.
And the Smash tourney money ain't exactly hitting.
Yeah, that's like sometimes I'm like, bro, this guy worked this hard and he got like $300. Like, and it's the 3-day major with the 2 days of travel time.
Right.
That's 5 days, and not everybody can immediately go just right back into streaming when you land.
Right.
So it's arguably like 6 days, and that's a big hit when it comes to content.
Yeah.
So, in like modern content days, I think it is a little harder to justify traveling to everything. I know this was a big thing for me recently because there was no PGR. So the only thing I'm traveling for is experience and money for the most part. Experience, prestige, and money. And I'm like, well, I don't know if that cuts it. But like, with circuit points, it can be a lot more rewarding because you know that there's an end goal. Instead of the end goal being Sunday, the end goal is something that you're constantly working towards.
Right.
And I think at least for Ultimate's side, a lot more players and even commentators will be going to a lot of the more global events. But I know for Melee, it's very, very different.
Yeah. I think the Dark Wizzy anecdote is interesting because it kind of goes to show that even if some people, like I'm sure there are a lot of people who thought it was really cool that Dark Wizzy like went to Australia and like participated in an Australian event and like was I'm sure there are a lot of the Australian players in particular who are like really excited to like get to test themselves against a top player. And then on the flip side, there's always going to be haters, right? Like even if you think you're doing it, and it's like good for their scene, and even if some people are really excited about it, there's going to be other naysayers. They're like, oh, they're just out here farming points for this thing. And so this kind of goes back to the thing we were saying with the power rank thing, but I feel like this is another classic example of you can't please everybody.
Yeah. But there is one big thing with Smash World Tour where, at least for Ultimate, I don't know if it's the same for Melee, the player with the highest points per like region gets auto-invited, auto-qualified. I think it's like there's 8 regions. But of course, I don't know. Like, what if I'm like, I'm 29th in NA, but I'm moving to Australia for a weekend when you guys are calculating it. Like I don't know how they're going to deal with that, but they are trying to find ways to make sure players from specific regions do still get to go, even if the tournaments get sniped.
Hey, shout outs to Australia, by the way.
Shout outs to Australia, by the way.
Great region.
And shout out to Japan.
True.
For me, I'm actually going to try to go to one of the. I actually am going to try to go to one of the Japanese. One of the 2 battle gateways. I know there's 2 of them on the schedule.
Oh.
So, but I mean, for me, I'd be going as a commentator, but also like VoiD, you're listing your reasons to go. I think, honestly, yeah, I think it's like y'all said, it's hard to say what should be done. For me, it's just because I think it's gonna be fun. And
I want to go to Kagaribi just because I'm not trying to get points. I just want to be there, man.
Makes sense. Yeah. And so, when is Kagaribi?
There's one in May, but I can't make it to that one just because kind of short notice.
It's the later one.
But I think there's going to be a later one. That's also going to be for points, so I'll go to that one.
Makes sense. But yeah, thank you for your question, Test Tube Girl. Yeah, I think it's pretty complicated, and I definitely think COVID adds another layer of complexity on top of it. But ultimately, you can't please everybody. You got to please yourself. That's how I feel.
Facts.
But well, maybe I'll see you there at the one of the battle gateways.
Seems likely if you're going.
Yeah. All right. Any shout outs you want to do?
Jeez, man. Shout out to me for being great.
Test Tube Girl. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, let's
go. Shout out to Purple Pear Adam and FKG for insisting on reminding themselves that I am better than them at Melee. And shout out to PPMD for playing me the other day.
Oh,
even though the connection was absolutely horrid.
It was beautiful. I try to go for the ping record as much as possible.
I'm still in the
Big Fox, dude. It was too hard.
Dude, I'm barely in that realm where I can actually fight Japan. Like when I play opposites, it's playable, but I think that's just because I'm West Coast.
Yeah, that is not the case. Yeah. That's not the case for me.
Oh, that's so far, dude. I can't even imagine.
It is truly an experience. Not as much of an experience as we bring it back to Australia once again, but we get there.
Got to bring it back to Australia,
too, of course. But yeah, thank you so much for calling in, and I hope you have a great rest of your full day. I think you have now.
Yeah, likewise. Have night, I guess, for you guys. But yeah, have a good one.
Have a good one.
Looks like we got one more caller. Really moving through them today. Love to see that. The name is a little bit long. Pop Tropaganda, I believe. I get there. And what's up? Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in right now from the DFW area.
Oh,
very nice.
Central Texas.
Very nice, very nice. What's your question for us today?
All right. So, before we all knew Larry Lurr, there was a Falco player from SoCal named Def. And I'm basically just wondering to know, like, in the Ultimate scene, you have players who've been playing since 2007, have been there since Melee, since Brawl. You also have players who started just the release of Ultimate. And I'm wondering, like, what kind of, how does that kind of factor into, like, the attitude, playstyle, and perspective from, like, you'll see from, like, top players?
Ooh, this is a great one. I love this question.
And VoiD, which one of those do you consider yourself? Are you're old school, right?
I'm the awkward middle child, like perfectly, because I started playing in Brawl, right? I played in Hawaii, so I played Hawaii Brawl. Very, very big difference. And then when
GSM.
I went and GSM, and when I went to and became a top player, I was fighting all the Brawl vets, but I was older than the Smash 4 newcomers, and like it was like just the perfect middle child. And I think it's really funny because the biggest thing to me that I see in like the newer people, of course, it's a lot of experience. A lot of experience, explosiveness. You can see a lot more of it on people's individual Twitters, if I want to be honest. But a lot of the older players, you can always tell. You can tell when you play against them where they're experienced. And I think that's a very, very big difference. Like, this guy is playing this situation, like, as annoying as possible, just right out of the range, and it's so, like, perfection to an extent. But then the newer players, while they suck at that, they're just godlike at the few stats that they have. Like, they didn't have to learn how to space and brawl. They just have to know how to blow you up at the edge in Ultimate, you know? They don't have to learn how to play disadvantage in Melee, they just have to learn how to fast forward neutral air dodge every time. And I feel like because of this, it's a lot easier to pick apart newer players' play styles because they don't have the overall experience. However, when it works, I think it works better than a lot of the older play styles because they've only been doing things that work. They've put all their time and effort into learning what works. They didn't have to like go up and down because they're going between games and metas and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so what you're saying sort of is like it's more of like a like they're like the qualities that kind of older players have are much more general.
It's general and it's everywhere. Like they're experiencing random stuff, dude. Like the dumbest things you can think of.
That must be every game. Because I watch a lot of like sometimes I watch this. Shout outs to FGC Translated. It's like a YouTube channel that translates like
Daigo, right?
And when they talk about this kind of stuff, it's very similar. You know, with like new school versus old school players. Like they'll find because they have the experience, so they know how to grind out a set and really make you feel. But yeah, they might not be as cracked out in like some very specific aspect. And it's funny. I thought it was really interesting, just as a side note, when Daigo was talking about when he was trying to beat Punk, or at least try to get better than Punk. And he was like, I want to, because Punk obviously a lot more new school. He was like, I want to become. He was like, I was thinking about it the wrong way. I was stuck in my old school way of thinking about it, where I was like, I'm going to use experience to beat him. But I realized I had to become Punk, and I had to practice the way the cracked out Zoomers practice, because otherwise I would never. And I thought that was so cool. But anyway, yeah, that's totally. I've heard that dichotomy expressed, and I think that's so trippy. What do you think about like, because it's funny, because how much do you feel like, do you think old school players are just way less afraid to speak their minds? Because you mentioned the Twitter thing.
I just don't think we find validation in speaking our minds. Does that make sense? I don't mean in like a rude way or anything. If you want to
say it, you just say it. Yeah, you're not worried about the crowd or it's just like
If we feel like we're good, we don't need to like flaunt it. We're just gonna enter and do our shit. But like sometimes the newer players are like, they just need like that support, that backing. But I feel like the older players are like, we've been in the runnings time and time again. Like I know I'm either gonna win or I'm gonna lose. Like I'll talk some shit, I'll get hit. Like, but the newer players like, no, I don't want to talk shit and get hit. I want to be good, or I want to be trash because I just lost to this random that I've never heard of, or I want to let you guys know about this new tech that I've been practicing that's super duper awesome, and then fail it and then be depressed. Like
you stake your whole livelihood on that shit.
Yes, and I feel like the older players, like you just grow out of that specific part of it.
And it's funny because, you're mentioning this with Ultimate. Obviously, it's like, I would say probably more applicable to Ultimate because there's so many, there's such a bigger spread, there's a wider spread of newer players. But you honestly, with Slippy in particular, and you, PP, I don't know if you agree with this. I feel like I see these attitudes reflected with Melee players too. Like some of the Slippy kids, and you definitely see, especially some of these young bucks who got really good really fast.
Young
bucks. I don't want to name any names because people are going to take it the wrong way, but some of these young bucks who yes, are very cracked, very good, not super duper well-rounded, and you get that vibe, especially when you, I don't say these things, but I don't know. Sometimes it's some of these Discord servers, that people be talking smack about other people's playstyles. Damn, this guy just does this one thing, blah, 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 but he's so good at it. He's so good at that one thing. And also their attitude. Some of these new school players, they take losses really hard. They take losses really, really hard, and they're, and I think a lot of the top Melee players definitely used to, like, there used to be, especially the best players, like, Mango Leffen, I remember a lot of them. You'd always have the sad tweets or whatever. It'd be like, man, this is so rough. But most of the old school people at this point, you got to roll with it. I mean, there's always going to be another tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of that's just going to be an age thing too, right? You're young, you're watching your animes, and those guys are popping off, and you're like, dude, my tech right now, I'm piercing the heavens, or whatever they say.
Dude, I love piercing the heavens. That's
what
I do.
So I mean, I think there's just, I think there's a lot going on in all of this, but I also think there's something valuable, right? Like we were also kind of talking about this, like we need the Zoomers so that we can stay inspired. We know that someone's always coming up with new stuff. They're grinding out crazy stuff that we didn't think was possible. We need that, and then they need us to be like, okay, look, I'm glad you're grinding out stuff, but what about playing the game? What about what's the most important or whatever, right? And so I think we need each other, and this is kind of the cool thing about I love talking about the differences, but I also am just glad that both exist.
Yeah, they are. That's very true. It is actually. I gotta thank the Zoomers. I think that this is a personal journey I had. Obviously, I'm pretty old school at this point, I guess. I think the Zoomers keep me interested in Melee because I think that I've been commentating Melee for so long that without the new tech, without the new storylines of new players who are rising, and people who do stake their it's funny, it's ironic. I'm saying to the youngsters, I'm saying, hey, don't get all depressed when things don't go your way in one tournament set. There's gonna be another tournament. But at the same time, like I miss that because yeah. Like because I think that seeing that keeps me hopeful. It keeps me passionate because I'm like, getting to watch these players who do have that do or die. Like, oh, I gotta make it big. I gotta be the anime. Blah blah. It's inspiring and from a gameplay perspective too. I think these players that bring the new tech. Usually are gonna, from a gameplay perspective, also inspire people like me to, get off our asses and practice once in a while. So
that's me.
Yeah.
Tell him, VoiD.
Tell him.
That's me. I make people realize dumb things are dumb all the time. It's awesome. Except, see, I'm the awkward middle child, man.
Like the gun loops.
Yeah, I'm always the awkward middle child.
See, this is what I was going to ask you was, in what ways, because you said you're the awkward middle child, but how would you say you're more like the boomers, and how would you say you're more like the zoomers?
I feel like I actually just play really smart. Most of the time, I'm like, well, this situation should be checkmate because you need to do this. Like, you're not, you suck at this. So, like, come on, like, stop being bad there. That's all you kind of boils down to. And then, but I play like a zoomer. Like my whole game plan is structured like that of a boomer. I'm like, I need to play it specifically this distances. If they do this, I do that. I react with this. I react with that. And then this is probably this makes perfect sense. So I hate watching myself play. Play because everything I do makes no sense to me in like the present. But when the me of the past, everything makes sense. And it just works. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you doing? And I'm like, God damn it. Like, I can't argue with the way I play because it works most of the time. And it's not just like I'm doing random risks. Like, I'm doing things that are calculated and works. But I just don't understand it when I watch myself play.
That sounds difficult.
VoiD, the player, is a zoomer. VoiD, the VoD reviewer, is a boomer.
Yes, exactly.
Well, hey, best of both. But yeah, good question here. Thank you so much for calling in with it, Pop Tropaganda. And you got any shout outs for us on your way out today?
Well, I'd like to shout out Hideki Naganuma for being the catalyst behind the alert, like the Larry alert thing.
Yeah, he did. Yep. For whatever reason.
I like to shout out my friend who tried to call me in the middle of this. Hopefully, I'll be able to get back to him in that. I don't know.
Hope so.
It's all good. Yeah.
Hopefully,
thank you for having me on.
Thank you.
I can ask this question.
Of course.
Yeah. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you for calling.
You too.
All right. See ya.
See ya.
Now that was supposed to be our last caller, but I saw we had someone quite important in the queue, so we're gonna go ahead and make an exception. Bring him in.
Oh my God! Look who it is.
Welcome to the show.
Oh my.
Hey, what's up, guys? How are we doing?
We're doing good.
Hello, boss.
Don't call me that, James.
Dude, boss. Can I call you boss?
You can call me boss, but since
I can't.
I'm James's manager now. I don't want him to call me boss. I don't even want him to call me manager. He's only allowed to call me Kevin.
I only call him Kevin.
Oh man, Kevin.
Good working relationship.
Yeah, it's great.
What's your question for everyone?
Yeah, I'd be the opposite. I'd make him call me sir.
Oh hell no! There's absolutely no way. I don't want to ever have that relationship with James. James, as far as I'm concerned, he and I are still goons in the trenches. Anyways, so yeah, I posted this question earlier. Glad that the people at Golden Guardians allowed me to jump on here. So quick preface with the shout out right there. So my question is, and I guess this is something that's more so at Chris and PP.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, if you
But
came on and asked me a question, I'd be so mad.
But yeah, I've been interested in actually starting my own Smash related podcast. Before,
Oh.
I was doing a lot of tutorials and things like that. Kind of, it doesn't feel as good trying to do tutorials when I'm not a pro player anymore. And I have also been taking a lot of interest in like podcasts surrounding music and NBA, and specifically, I love hearing about retired NBA players talking on their careers.
Oh.
So I just wanted to know, since you two are professional podcasters at this point in your careers, what are some tips that you have for, an aspiring podcaster who already has a presence in the space?
Tips.
Yeah,
Damn.
that's a good question. Well, I don't really know if I'm a pro podcaster, but I can tell you that if I were to give anyone advice in this space and something I think people enjoy more, it's knowing kind of the direction you want things to go, and not really just the direction, but kind of a vision and an emotion behind it. Because I think that's what people are going to connect with. That's what people are going to say. I want to consume this so that I feel this, so that I have this sort of experience.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you can tap into that and give them that, or bring in people that add to that or add their own thing to that to give it, happiness plus chaos or whatever other thing you want to put in there, is phenomenal. So that's something that I try to think about whenever I try to respond to people on here, or I try to think about what we can do with it.
Yeah. And I'll add that, like, I think that, because this isn't really, I mean, okay, it depends what your definition of podcast is, but I used to do Scar and Toph show with Scar, and with the Scar and Toph show, every episode would often have somewhat of a different vibe. It would kind of honestly reflect on the guest. And so I guess the first thing is, like, you kind of want to figure out what's the word, like, on Radio Melee, it's like, I guess the structure, like on Radio Melee, like we like bring on callers, they ask us questions, kind of thing. Scar and Toph show is very much like about the guest, and we made it about the guest, and like we basically, whatever they wanted to talk about, or even sometimes do, we would talk about that or do that. And I feel like making the guest feel, like making it about the guest and kind of making them the star of the moment, making them feel special is something that you definitely want to be able to do. Cause like, especially with your thing about like, hearing retired NBA players talk or whatever, like, especially in Smash, right? Smash is, the thing about what Smash has, like, we have so much history and we have so much legacy, and like we've been around for so long that everyone's got a ton of stories and a ton of untold stories. And I think of things like the Michigan Grime PR, and like these story, like I don't even mean the stories like the stories that get told by the esports journalists. I mean the real fucking, I was at this dude's house at 2:30 a.m., just fucking ripping his bong, and I was beating his ass in Falcon Dittos, and like he was getting so mad. Like there are so many hilarious anecdotes like that, and I think that like that's, if I was starting up a brand new Smash podcast, like basically what it's, I don't know if you have like a real vision for what the end product looks like, but I definitely think if you're making a Smash podcast, you want to remember what we have good in the Smash scene. And what we have is a lot of history and a lot of a lot of really hilarious untold stories.
Right. Yeah. So one of the visions that I had, and I guess this is actually kind of the core vision of this, is that like obviously being a pro player, I'm like a Smash insider, I know all of you personally, and I would know like the vast majority of guests personally in ways that like, other people wouldn't, from like their social media and whatnot. And so like I think a good angle is providing that insider view. It's just I don't exactly know what I want to do with these stories, how do I want to jog their memories and how I want it being presented and whatnot. If I started the podcast today, I don't think I would have a lot of trouble with, getting guests, but it's more about, and I guess what PP was saying about like how I want them to feel and what I want the emotion of it all to be. So that's all really good stuff to think about.
Yeah, if I could add one more thing real quick, I would say whatever you have fun with or whatever you really enjoy listening to, like you were talking about the NBA podcast, if there's something that you really like about that, or there's something that you think you're particularly good at, or you just really enjoy, do that, because people are going to feel you enjoying that and being invested in that, and they're going to want more of it. So you don't have to think about it in terms of a podcast. What do you really enjoy when you played Melee? What do you enjoy about work now or whatever, right? And if you bring that out more, then I think people are really going to resonate with that. Because if you're not feeling it, the people listening are definitely not going to feel it.
Gotcha.
Make things you like.
Absolutely.
Hey, and I'll add one more thing. By the way, I'll add one more thing that another thing you can do is you can always put some you can put some spin on it or some shtick on it, right? Like hot wings or hot ones or hot ones, right? Like you can literally do that. Like you can find some way to. It's like, oh man, yeah, you could just think of some interesting gimmick that you're just, if you have some other random like thing that you really like I don't know, boba or coffee or something. It's like, oh, I'm doing a show where I get coffee with you know what I mean? You can do some. So if you're having trouble, you can always think of some way to keep it. There's always something that no one's doing.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, obviously, this is going to be like a remote thing, so getting coffee with them is going to be a little challenging. But yeah, James, were you saying something?
Nope. That's great ideas.
Nope.
Good answer. Good answer. Good
I'm
answer.
echoing, yeah.
That's funny.
I guess I mean, a lot of Ultimate people have been doing podcasts too, so I think the answers were really nice and insightful. So I don't have much to add. I was simply listening because I'm like, ooh, I can take all of these ideas.
You could.
Yeah, for sure. I know that Tweak Talks is big. I have never gotten around to listening to it. I've just been like, I love NBA and I love music, and so that's why I've been listening to his podcasts. And I bet you there's a large fan base of Melee people out there who would appreciate like a Melee podcast somewhat in the style of those two. And as you were saying, like doing something I like, I know there's going to be a lot of people who like the stuff I like too. So
yeah,
that's all good direction.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, I mean, good luck with your podcast. Thanks so much for calling in, and yeah, it's great to have you on. You got any shout outs for us on your way out today, Pew Pew?
Yeah, I actually have a few shout outs. So first, I want to shout out you three. Thanks so much for getting on here and having me on. It's been way too long since I've seen all of you. I think I've seen James the most recent. I know for a fact I've seen. But hoping to see you all at Genesis. Also want to shout out Golden Guardians for all the amazing, Melee content, and also CLG, of course, for putting me up. And by the way, Golden Guardians and Zeke, I know you're listening. Get me Warriors tickets, please. Thank you.
Yes. Shout out to Steph Curry.
Yeah, shout out to Steph Curry. And lastly, shout outs to my boys, Zach and Bobby. Those guys are incredible. Still pushing, even though I'm not in there. I'm with them in spirit and all that jazz. But yeah, those are my shout outs, boys.
Wonderful. Yeah. Well, thank you for calling in. Good question. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
Bye, Kevin.
You too, boys.
Bye, Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
Oh, the mix-up.
Very nice. Very nice.
Throwing a little spin on it.
Before we say bye, but yeah, right before we go, and I know we're going to be saying our byes in a second, but before that, it's your turn to ask a question, VoiD. You've got to do your own community voice where you ask the YouTube audience a question.
I think I have a great one.
Okay, and he's ready.
It kind of got very briefly talked about when Kevin asked his question, and I was like, wow, what a coincidence. So my question is, if the streaming boom took off earlier, what era of players would you want to watch stream?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go with my own answer, DSF. Any era of DSF, I think, would be really good, because I've been a SoCal Smasher since like 2015. I played against him in Smash 4. I've heard about how long he's been around, since like even the Ken era, and it's just very interesting to, I think we might take for granted a lot of the little side stories we hear from streams nowadays in comparison to only having to like see tournament results. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd like to ask the community, what era of Smash players would you like to see stream if streaming had boomed a lot earlier?
Man, this is a good question, but I also realized the earlier we go, the more degenerate it is
Oh,
very quickly.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Let's
absolutely.
assume we're also watching it in that time era.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah.
Yeah, not a modern one.
That would be chaos.
Yes, yes.
So I guess
The
I'm glad when the boom happened when it did, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
good question. Um,
Yeah, even like yeah, modern players, modern casters like on the come up. Like what if people wanted to watch me when I played Brawl, you know? I'm just like a high schooler
Yeah.
in Hawaii just down airing people off stage and we both die all the time, you know? Stuff like that. I think it's like a interesting thing to think about.
For me,
yeah,
it's
that's a good
Dreffen.
question.
Treffin.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Imagine like, dude, he could have like a down smash counter. Just like, how high can it go?
I could see Dreffen like trash talking everyone. I'm gonna spot dodge you again, and you're gonna miss. And then they miss, and he's like, "You're an idiot." And he would just, like he would call it out, and he would have like a really funny way of calling it out. I feel like.
Yeah, he's like a nice guy though, or is he not?
I mean, I think he is a pretty nice guy, but I mean, he's got some trash talk too. I've definitely seen that.
Yeah, okay.
And it's it'd be different if like, I guess it was all in person back then, but maybe like he's been drinking or whatever, and then like it starts coming out. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
I could see it. I could see that. Oh, that kind of reminds me. Taupe, not the person.
Oh man, dude, yes. Yes.
Another Sheik player who was absolutely crazy. He had an insane beard at one point. That would be good for his stream. And then he would just start screaming about nothing. Like there's a clip of him at Genesis 1 screaming about how Ganon is terrifying. And it is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. He's just like, it's Ganon. You can't do anything because it's Ganon. Where are you? And he just starts doing, where are you at in the middle of it?
Remember this.
It is so funny. It is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. And so having that on stream would be beautiful. So I think that's gonna be my quick answer.
He was hysterical.
But yeah, that's an awesome question. But yeah,
can't wait to see the answers.
Yeah, the answers for this.
I'm interested.
Yeah, peep the comments, man. I'm sure there's a lot of good answers out there for that for a lot of communities.
That's right. That's right. Oh my god, dude.
But hey, we've got the community voice. We've got the caller questions. We've had VoiD. Thank you so much for your time, man. It's been wonderful having you in here, sharing your insight and experience with us.
Very fun. That was very fun.
Awesome. And thank you so much, Toph, for holding it down as always.
Of course. Of course. We'll be back, of course, next week with another riveting guest. More exciting conversations on Radio Melee. Signing out.